So for the sake of this tutorial, unlike when we were in lesson and I said for the toque you need 2.5 arms lengths worth of wool, I'm just going to do a small amount because I'm just showing you a basic cast on. So again, I'm teaching you what's called a long tail cast on. And what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 fingers and you're going to wrap the yarn around those 2 fingers. Then you want to push the yarn up through the back so you have this little loop, and then you're just going to slip your fingers out and pull it so you now have this loop. And if you were to pull that out, it's called a slip knot if you don't know, and that's why, because if you pull it, it just slips out. So we're wrapping the yarn around the 2 fingers and pushing that loop between and then just pulling down. Now, when you're working with yarn, like I said in the course, you're always wanting to keep the, like what we call the slack yarn or your waste yarn. You want to keep it towards your body, and you want to keep the working yarn that's attached to the ball away from your body. And the yarn is also always to the right of you. So it's always easier to knit if your ball of yarn just lives off to the right hand side. And then, like I said, the working yarn that's attached to the ball goes in front away from your body, and this slack yarn, this leftover stuff, that's towards your body, just so that you don't get it confused. So you're going to take your needles and you're slipping it through the slip knot. Now, you'll see here that I have a bit of a gap between the yarn and the needles, and that's because it makes it easier to slide my needle through when it's time to knit. If I were to pull it super tight, it makes it so hard, and the more stitches you have on, the tighter it gets. So you always want to have a little bit of give between the needle and the yarn. Is this in focus? Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull the 2 strands and you're going to slide your index and your thumb through the middle. And then you're just going to pull it down. It almost makes this little loop. And that's how you know you've got like this little, I don't know, like a little triangle, or sometimes in the knitting world we say it's like our little ovaries. So you have the yarn wrapped over the 2 fingers. So again, I'm pulling out the 2 strands, I'm sliding my thumb and my index through, and then I'm pulling down. So then to cast on, what you're doing, and you kind of want to hold or brace the yarn that's on the needle with this hand, especially as the needles get bigger, they slip off. So you're just sort of bracing the yarn. So you are sliding the needle up the thumb, down the index, and then your goal is to get this loop that's on your thumb off onto the needle. So I'm going to do that again. You push your fingers through the yarn and come down. And I find the tighter you are, like the closer you are to your needle, the better. If you go far away, it's a lot to have to manage. So you really do want to keep it nice and close. So I'm going up the thumb, down the index, and then pushing the loop that's on my thumb off onto the needle. And then give it like a nice little pull just to make sure, again, that you're not pulling too tight. So I'm going through the middle and coming down, up the thumb, down the index, and pushing the loop that's on my thumb off onto the needle. Okay, so that's how you cast on. I'll do a couple more. Through the middle, up the thumb, down the index, and the loop comes off. One more time. So I'm going through the middle, up the thumb, down the index, and the loop comes off. And then again, just checking my tension every few stitches.